Hey everyone, this is George Moore, owner of Moore's Sewing Center in Southern California. And our next episode of Sewing Tech Talk with Cathy. Cathy features the new Baby Lock Applaud creative cover stitch machine. And now it's been made available that I can ship this nationwide. So stay tuned for after this episode to see a very special offer that I have for you on the Baby Lock Applaud.
Hi. I'm having so much fun with the Baby Lock Applaud. I have so many possibilities because this machine was a creative cover stitch machine, and between the feet and the thread and the projects, well, I had to limit myself and I had to cut myself off just using a few of the things. I'm Cathy, this is Sewing Tech Talk, and I think you might be interested in what this beautiful machine can do. So like I said, I had to limit myself because there's so many possibilities with this machine. Because it's a Baby Lock cover stitch machine, and it also does that creative cover stitch. A lot of the Baby Lock accessories that you use for cover stitch, well, they pretty much almost all fit on this machine. So I just have a few of them here. Now, like I said, between all the combinations, well, I'm going to limit myself to just using the belt loop binders today. And the new, well, the foot has an insert that you can use to make the basic wiper foot do other things. So those are called micro inserts, and I'm just going to be using the stitch in the ditch ones today. There are other ones. I think that's going to have to be another video. But all the different thread choices too. I can use the Ultra T foot. The machine comes with this basic serger foot and an ankle, of course. But like I said, there's all kinds of choices when you add that top wiper. And what does that basically look like? Well, if you look at this sample right here, this has two different threads, and it's doing the triple cover stitch, but those threads are going back and forth. So it adds, you can add two more stitches, two more threads to the top of that stitch, and you can get some really fun possibilities. Here I added some metallic, here's two other different colors, and of course you can use thicker threads because they're not going through the needle, they're in the wipers, right? So, the stitch in the ditch micro inserts, what does that mean? Well, if you look at the foot, basically the foot comes with this little insert right here, and that shows you where the needle positions are. And if you add that little stitch in the ditch insert, there's the left, right, and center, then it's going to help you go next to something. Now, I've also experimented with the belt loop binder. Remember, the binding attachments, all the attachments that manipulate fabric before it gets to the needle, and of course you can use them with a cover stitch, but you can also add that extra element of the extra thread. So I was kind of playing around. So what I came up with is two things that are kind of surprising with that stitch in the ditch insert, right? So basically it's stitch in the ditch. So let me grab this. So I did this, and I've just used some ribbon. And the stitch in the ditch helps me go between the two ribbons, and it helps me keep them aligned, and I'm just kind of cruising in between. So that's kind of an in the ditch, and kind of fun. And I just took basic ribbons, just holiday ribbons, and put them together to make a really fun table runner. Now here's another little quilt. So here's a quilt. And I did use that creative top stitch, and I came around here and I literally stitched in the ditch all the way around. To be perfectly honest with you, when I did the quilting, it kind of got a little bit on that border, and this kind of hides it. Just saying. And you can add a heck of a lot more than just the one. This really adds a little extra, I think, hand kind of look when I use those matte threads to kind of give this vintage stitchery, kind of gives it a kind of a neat look. So I did that, and I added the belt loop binder to make some really fun purse handles. I really love making purses, and I'm always looking for a way to do a fun, exciting purse handle. I like to make my purse handles so that you can attach them and detach them, because let's be honest, that's the first thing that goes south on a purse if you like it and you use it a lot. So here's my fun purse handles. Check it out. So here's the first handle. And what it is I used a belt loop to do the center, and I stitched it on top of just this basic handle. So I didn't have to turn it right side out or anything. It was really quick, fast, and easy. Here's another one. But first things first, we need a belt loop, right? So let me show you how this machine works, and we'll make a belt loop. So here's my belt loop attachment right now. I'm going to swing it into position, but I want to show you how I get started making that stitch. So if you look at the bed of the machine, I have 4 threads coming out. You can't see the cover stitch looper because it's down in here. These 2 threads are going through the needles, and these 2 threads here are going through the wiper. What I do when I'm starting this out is I kind of get that cover stitch started, make sure I'm good to go with that, and then I add the wiper threads. So this machine has a needle up, needle down feature, which is amazing. Also, when I raise the presser foot, the feed dogs drop. So it makes it super easy. But let's get started doing that cover stitch. So what I'm going to do is I have everything set up, and I'm just going to take a few stitches to set that cover stitch into place. Now I'm going to do the needle down feature, which is amazing. Raise my presser foot lever, and by putting my little needle driver, my Allen wrench just behind the needles, I can pull those threads out of the way. Now I'm really just dealing with 2 threads. I'm dealing with the wiper threads. So I'm going to engage the wiper by taking this lever and rocking it straight up. And I'm going to hold the threads just like this and just get it started, so I'm having those wiper threads go as well. Now when I take a couple stitches, I'm just going to do the same thing. Raise my presser foot, take my Allen wrench, go behind, and pull those threads out of the way. Now I have a little scrap of fabric here, and I'm going to check my stitch length to see if I like it. That looks pretty good. Now let's swing that belt loop binder into place. Now with the belt loop binder, there's 2 different places where you can do adjustments. The first adjustment, of course, is side to side, and you'll use the 2 white screws that came with the machine. So I'm just going to tighten that one up. I have my belt loop coming on in. Just push it on through. Now what you can also see is I have my adjustment right here. So I can put the belt loop attachment closer to the foot or farther away. I kind of like it closer to the foot. Now when I cut my fabric, I actually cut it to be the width between these 2 guards right here. That usually works for me. Of course, you want to experiment with any kind of fabric that you have. So here we go. Let's see if we're making a belt loop. So I can see I have a little bit more on this side than this side. So I'm just going to make a slight adjustment. I'm going to move it over just a hair. So you want to cut more fabric that you need for your belt loop because you want to do some adjustments when you first get started. I kind of like that. Now all I have to do is finish my belt loop. All right, good to go. I'm all set. Now all I have to do is add it to the other part of my belt that I've already put together. Now, I think that using this machine for stitch in the ditch is great, but I'm really using it as I'm putting this piece of belt loop on top of another piece, and I'm kind of creating an applique, right? So that got me thinking, why don't I just use this function to just applique fabrics together, or even just do a regular applique? So let me show you what that looks like, and we'll come back to the belt loop in just a little bit. Let me take off the belt loop binder. And I'm going to take the regular insert off, and I'm going to put that stitch in the ditch insert on. The insert just pops off just like this. Now this is very small, don't lose it. And here's that one insert now. Here it is. You can see it has a guide for stitch in the ditch, and it really just snaps on just like this. I think I'm going to raise my presser foot so I find that happy place. Now, one thing about the inserts is they fit in an absolute certain way. You don't want them too high or too low. You kind of want that Goldilocks effect. You want to make sure that there's no height right in here. I think I missed that one part. There you go. I found that Goldilocks zone. It's just right. Before I had it just a little bit too high, and the wipers would have caught on it, right? So now, let's see if I did okay. I'm just going to join these two pieces of fabric. What I've done is I've just folded one edge under, just like that, and I'm going to put it so that guide is right along that edge. You can see the guide is right along that folded edge. But what if these fabrics didn't ravel? I'm putting two knits together. It's kind of like I'm making like a sports seam or a flat fell seam. If I'm doing sportswear, I could just put a super soft thread like a woolly nylon in that looper, and I could be making the most gorgeous, like, you know, leotards, swimsuits, gymnastic wear. So I think this technique would work great for that. So I'm just going to stitch right along the fold. Let's see what that looks like. Now if I don't like it, what I can do is I can change the stitch length. Let me just make it a little bit shorter and then a little bit longer, and then you'll see what that looks like. Let's make it all the way as long as it can be. So look at that. Isn't that fun? I made a shorter stitch length there just to show you, and then there's the longer. The thing is, it's super flat. And the back, well, the back's kind of covered too. So you can see there's some great uses for this. Now, I thought, oh my goodness, what a great way to put a quilt together, because the seams are so flat. So I did that very thing. I put some metallic thread in the wipers, and I just put a quilt together. It's really fun, it's really flat, and I'm having some fun with that quilt. Now, when I said metallic threads, this machine, the wipers, as it's going through there, super tolerant. These metallic threads that I had no other use for them. They didn't work in embroidery. They were so touchy. They didn't even work in sewing, but they work great in the wipers. So you can see that almost all of your threads, you're going to be able to play with them all. Now, what about, well, if I can applique some stuff down, what else could I applique down? Well, I thought maybe a zipper would be great. Check this out. So what I've done is I've kind of put some a fusible tape to hold my zipper down, and I can go right across that edge. So let's pull everything up, bring it on in, and put that guide right along next to the zipper. Now when you're putting any zipper in, when you're doing it with a serger, you're going to want an extra long one, because you don't want to be dealing with that zipper pull. Look at how much fun that is. You could take a plain Jane zipper and really zip it up. I'm sorry about the pun, but you really can. Look how fun that is. And let's look on the back. Oh my goodness, it's nice and flat on the back also. So that's another great function of using that stitch in the ditch foot to go along the edge of the zipper. Now, I thought to myself, could I really do just like an applique? Well, yes I can, and let me show you that. I did an applique on this pillow. This is just a regular circle, just to prove to me that I could do a nice circle. But this is a little bolster pillow I made, and look at that fun applique going around there. Now it's a small circle, so I'm going to have to be, kind of careful going around there. But let me show you how I did that. Surprisingly, the stitch in the ditch foot really works great for that. Remember I told you about that insert that comes with the machine? There's little lines to show you right where the needle's going to hit. And I kind of want my applique to be even on both sides of that raw edge. But I kind of have a hard time seeing them. But with the stitch in the ditch foot, the middle one, well, that works great. Let me switch over to that one. So here's the middle stitch in the ditch insert. It changes my foot, and presto changeo, over to one with a guide right in the middle. And I'm going to slide that on, and I usually just check, and yeah, that looks pretty good. Now what I've done is I've fused my circle down, and I've pinned some stabilizer onto the back. Now I'm going to go slow and steady on this one because it's a pretty small circle. Luckily, the Applaud has a needle down feature, and I can really slow the machine down with the speed regulator. Now, I have to get my applique under there, right? So to release the thread from the stitch fingers, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take the back of the thread, cut it kind of short. That wasn't good. Here we go, I found it. Now, I want to release the thread from the stitch finger. So I'm going to turn the wheel backwards 1 or 2 rotations. And when I kind of mess with it and untangle it, I untangle all those threads. So now I can get my applique under the foot. Now, like I said, I'm going to go slow and steady with this applique, but this guide in the front's really going to help me. I'm just going to take a few stitches and then I'm going to turn it. And I'm going to go around a pretty small circle, but curves would be pretty easy also. Just take them slow and steady. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the threads once again. I'm going to take my hand wheel and go backwards to kind of release that off there. And just kind of wiggle it a couple times and pull it away. And then I'm just going to use a big needle to kind of join my threads together. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that fun? Look at that. Now, I don't think I would applique this way all the time, but it sure turned out cool. Now, let's get back to that belt loop. So what I decided to do is I decided to take my fabric. I have a bigger strap for my purse, and what I did is I put it on a base, and I took the edges and I made the raw edges meet in the middle. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that belt loop and cover it over the top. Let me show you what that looks like on one that I've already done. Here's this one. Now on this one, kind of a different, little bit more elegant, right? I used the smaller belt loop. Here's the smaller belt loop, right? And what I did is when I stitched my belt loop, I used a pretty short stitch length. And then I came in with a narrow creative cover stitch on either side to stitch it down. And we're going to stitch on the edge of it too, like this. It's not an overlock machine, but it can really make a neat, elegant edge. And then here's the back. Now, if you don't like the back with the cover stitch on the back, what you can also do is you can stitch it down using your sewing machine. I use the Ultra T bi-level foot. So what that is this great foot, and it has a thicker edge on one side. It's super great for quilt bindings. So what you do is you can put it just like this and sew along there if you just want to sew your belt loop down. And then the back looks just like that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my belt loop that I made and I'm going to fuse it down, or I could even glue it down, and then when we get back, we'll stitch it back. We'll stitch it down. So I need to go press it on the ironing board, and I'm either going to glue it or fuse it. I might just glue it. So what I did is I kind of pressed it. I kind of made it a little bit flatter, and I just used a couple dabs of glue on it to hold it down, and I used the iron to dry it. I don't use that much, just a couple drops. Actually, what you could also do is, this is called a fusible thread, and you could put it in your cover stitch looper, and then that would make this strip, fusible. So that's kind of another option too. So now, here it is. We're just going to use that applique function to stitch on either side of it. And because I think this is kind of wide, now I could use the sewing machine, and I'll do another one where we're going to do that. So here we go. We're just using that left guide and running the edge in. Oh, I had slowed the machine down. I think we could go a little bit faster on this. Look how fun that is, right? I used a longer stitch length here than I did when I made the belt loop, and if I stitch it on the other side, well, that's great. Now I can change this. Don't forget, I don't even just have this wide cover stitch. I can do a narrow cover stitch. Heck, I could even come in with a narrow cover stitch in between these two and make a very, very, very fancy belt loop. Now I stitched this one secondary with stitching on either side, and then I sewed it down on the sewing machine. Let me show you what that kind of looks like. So here's a belt loop that I made, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch on the edge of it. I'm going to bring it up like this, and I'm just going to add that extra stitching in here. Now remember, I said that this is not a regular serger, right? But with this guide, I can sew exactly along the edge, and those threads just hit right on that outside edge. And that gives me a really beautiful edge. That's how I did this. I stitched this down, but then I stitched along the edge as well. And it gave me that really nice, elegant. And I had so much fun with that, creating that belt loop, the wide belt loop, right? And it seemed kind of, on the sides, seemed kind of needed a little extra something. So I stitched a little extra something. And I wove myself a purse. Look how fun this is. This is that wide belt loop. And then there's that center wide cover stitch. Then on either side, what I did is I used a narrow cover stitch to kind of add some extra bulk to that. Can you imagine the possibilities with thread and the different stitch types? I even have a chain stitch that's beautiful that just gives me that thread weaving through the top. I don't necessarily have to use my sewing machine. And like I said on the back, well, you could use the sewing machine if you just want the back to be plain. But what about really big, beautiful threads on the back? Wouldn't that be fun? So see? Why did I have to stop? Because there's so many fun possibilities. And I haven't even talked about the micro feet where you can put down cord or ribbon. I have so much fun to have. I'm going to have to make another video using them. So, like I said, one other thing. I did a video called Serger Weaving, right? Where I made the belt loops and then I wove them together. That's what gave me the idea for the purse. And I made a purse handle. See, there's a fun purse handle that I made. But check it out. Wouldn't it be even more fun? Where's my other pieces? Let's see. Take these, and now instead of just having a regular belt loop, now I have a belt loop with that creative cover stitch on the top. So let's review. Oh my goodness. I put in a zipper. I did an applique. I joined pieces of fabric. I made an awesome, beautiful purse handle. You could even use it for a guitar strap or straps on a garment or, oh my gosh. See the possibilities? I just have to calm down. I'm going to send it off to George while I take a rest. And I have to think about what I'm going to do for the next video when I'm using the cording and taping feet. Take it away, George.
Thanks, Cathy. That was incredible. And you too can have the Baby Lock Applaud for yourself at home. And we have a very special offer. The manufacturer suggested retail price on the Baby Lock Applaud is $44.99. And we have it on sale for $34.99. We have interest-free payments and free shipping across the country. But wait, we have a bonus. This special bonus includes 10 of the most popular feet that work with the Baby Lock Applaud. And there's so many wonderful things that you can do with the different stitch aspects using these feet. I love the double fold bias binder. We have both 10 millimeter and 15 millimeter. And truly, you can add that extra finish right on even a quilt edge. It's so incredible. You also have the large 36 millimeter double fold bias binder. And again, so many cool things you can do with this here. You have a belt loop binder, and the belt loop binder, it folds a belt loop so that you can make straps, and adding that different texture. Oh my goodness, it's so amazing. It has a fabric guide, a hemmer guide that's so simple just to fold a hem. It's a beautiful stitch quality on whatever fabric you want to. It also has a single downturn feller and a single fold bias binder. The single fold bias binder, I love this because it gives us a much smaller edge, and so it just gives that extra little bit of texture or color for the project that you love. It also comes with a Teflon foot and a clear foot. But also we have this bag that comes with it, so everything is organized in this wonderful bag, as well as this full color description of every single foot that I just talked about. So all that's included. That has a value of $349, and it's included free for a limited time with the Applaud purchase. So you don't want to wait. This is limited to stock on hand. And again, you get this bonus that's valued at $349 free with the Applaud purchase. So if you have any questions, you can click on the link to find out more information and purchase this Applaud, or email us at customerservice@moores-sew.com, or call us at 1-800-865-9664. Bye for now.